Hey, good afternoon. Hope that you are doing well. Thanks for joining me. This is Mary Lou Foster. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Northeast Texas, and I am coming to you today to show you how to make this really pretty card using the Apple Harvest stamp set and dies. If you are watching this during the week of September the 25th through the 30th, I'm on a cruise. So I did this ahead of time to schedule it to post while I was gone so that I didn't have to miss a week. So I appreciate you watching, and we'll get started. Like I said, this uses the Apple Harvest Cling Stamp Set and the Apple Blossom dies. Yep, Apple Blossom dies. What I like about the dies, they have one that coordinates with the apple stamp. They have one that coordinates with this branch of apples. They have one that cuts out the flowers, but then you can also build some flowers. There are leaves. There aren't necessarily stamps for the leaves, but it puts detail on them. And then the one today we're using is the big branch with the 3 apples on it. I wanted to show you the Designer Series paper. I'm using a piece from the Earth and Elegance pack. And at first glance, you're like, I don't understand. But because our papers are two-sided, you can choose. And as you can see, one side here is the Blackberry Bliss. And then I've got my side that is Pebbled Path. This one is kind of an ombre piece, sort of a wood grain look. Then you have the blue denim look. Got some stems. This looks like cake frosting to me. Not sure what it's supposed to be. But that package of paper coordinates with gray granite, copper clay, misty moonlight, moody mauve, pebbled path, pecan pie, pretty peacock. So my card base is Pebbled Path. That's kind of what I started with. And then because apples are red, I've added, I believe it's cherry cobbler to the piece to help kind of bring out the apples. And then I've added the piece of Designer Series paper. And I have cut it out, die cut it out with a deckled rectangle die. And I wanted to show you this set of dies. They're in the annual catalog, and they have 8 different sizes. They're rectangular, very useful. Adds just a little detail of shabbiness to the edge as opposed to just putting a piece of paper that is just cut to size. Look at the detail whenever you die cut it. You can see on the card it's deckled, so it's sort of a little ruffly as opposed to just straight. This piece is too big. It has not been die cut yet. I went ahead and ran this one through because it does take your larger Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, and I can't keep that here in my crafting room. I don't have a stable enough base. So we've also, I've used Very Vanilla, but I've also used Basic White. I stamped my apples on white. I debated back and forth, because Very Vanilla does coordinate with this really nicely. But I didn't think it would color and the apples might not pop. And once I put it on the white, I never changed my mind. And then the inside of our card is decorated with the stamps, just with a liner. So I'm going to go ahead and ink up the apples. We get to color on this one because you know those Stampin' Blends, they make you look like a professional because you can layer that color and shadow. Now I'm not real good at that. I'm not an art major, never was. Kind of want this in the middle of my paper because I am going to die cut it out. I think I moved it. Maybe it didn't hiccup too much. Nope. And I've gone ahead and stamped The Greatest Gift is a Good Friend. Let let me show you the die that we're going to cut that out with. This is teeny incy weensy. So what we'll do for that is get it all lined up how we want it. And I'll use a piece of old washi tape to hold that frame in place. And I can run that through this small Stampin' Cut Emboss machine. You have to be able to feel it's a little bitty, not very thick, so it's hard to find it when you just let it stick back down on the roll. About to get it. I had a piece over there, I just didn't see it. I'll go ahead and get this lined up. Put it over here out of the way. And come back and start our coloring. So today I've chosen Granny Apple Green for our leaves and Real Red for the apples. Apples come in many different colors. I'm going to start with the light because that's how I like to color. So you could totally do Cherry Cobbler. You could do Golden Delicious. You could go rogue and make them blue. I don't think I would buy a blue apple. Although here in Texas, the A&M agricultural system has designed some different colored, I think it's carrots that are purple or maroon, because maroon is the color of A&M. I think I'll stick with my orange carrots. So the nice thing about the Stampin' Blends, you don't have to necessarily get all the way to the edge for the color to kind of develop and feel the stamp. If you do get too close to the edge, sometimes it'll bleed outside the lines, and oh my goodness, you can't have that. So tell me, what do you like to color with the most? Or do you even like to color at all? This reminds me of growing up. Every summer we'd get a new coloring book. I think I've told this story before, especially if it was the summers when we were traveling to Michigan, because 26 hours in a car with 3 kids and 2 adults and no air conditioning early on is quite a challenge. So my mom would always make sure we had entertainment. We did not have videos, of course. It's back in the 60s. But brand new coloring books, books to read. We played Bebop. You know, you see a Volkswagen, license plates from different states. We read billboards to each other. We took naps, not much, but anything to keep us occupied so that we wouldn't say 5,000 times, "Are we almost there yet?" Usually my dad did most of the driving through the farm country, and it was in the days before interstates. So you could get on one of those farm roads, which were really considered state highways, and get behind a tractor moving from one field to the other, harvesting, because we usually went July, August, and we would putter along. You didn't make your hotel reservations ahead of time. You took a chance, and then we would decide we were ready to stop for the night. And we'd have to start stopping. Mother would have to go in to see if they had room. Some of the places we stayed were not 4-star places, but it was a place to stop for the night so we could make the drive the rest of the way. Alrighty. So I've added that shadow line for the leaves, their veins. And the cool thing about it, Stampin' Up! Does the work for you. You know, they've already kind of detailed shadow stuff. I don't spend a lot of time adding more to it. I just go with what they've done. add another layer of this color, and it helps blend out those veins. And that's about it. That I'm going to go ahead and do the branches, and I'm just going to do them one color. This is dark crumb cake, and I am going to use the nib end because these are some small areas that I'm filling in, and I don't want to, that brush gets a little carried away with itself. I think that might be a leaf that I need to go back and color. Sometimes trying to figure out what the different parts of these stamps are. Yeah, I think that's a leaf. First I thought it was a branch. We'll just give it a little color here. Pretend like it's a leaf. And we'll color our apples. And these are really fun to color. As you can see, they've already added the shading here. So I've started with the light real red. And this one is beginning to be frayed on the end. So it's got to go a little slower so I'm not accidentally coloring something I don't want to. I might have to use the nib to fill that in. You don't have to push real hard with these Stampin' Blends. Like when you're using our watercolor pencils, sometimes you can push harder to get more color. But for these, I'm going to use the nib end to fill in that so I'm not accidentally coloring outside the line. Color that in. Turn it around and fill in a little closer. I don't mind leaving some white occasionally, but I think that might be a little too much. All right. I can't wait to share pictures of our trip with you. We're going to the Northeast to see the fall colors along the eastern seaboard. We'll be going in behind the hurricane. Hurricane Lee, I think, is due to hit. Actually, some of the ports we're supposed to go to. Bangor and Boston. I always say Boston. Halifax. Isn't that pretty? These apples are so fun. Yeah, I'm using the nib end, but that was the end that I opened, so I'll just go with it. I think I will change it though. But since it already had shadows worked into that stamp, you can just kind of blend in the extra that you added. Bob's your uncle. That part's done. Now, hopefully this will fit on my little, I didn't check that out. And there's the branch. And you just get it all lined up. Let me run this one through that I've already laid over here. See if our sentiment comes out okay. I can bring the little guy over here. I call this the little guy because compared to the big one, this is the little one. Let me get these little. That frame has the teeny tiniest little holes. I'm going to show you once I get it out of. You can gently pull that off. But see those little teeny tiny holes? So it leaves teeny tiny little pieces of paper. And all but one of them, find my pokey tool. and you can just punch it out. It usually always punches them and it leaves them. So be sure and clean your dies. If you leave those pieces in there the next time, it doesn't cut as well, and eventually it can keep it from cutting all the way. All right, I'm going to lay this up here where you can kind of see what I'm doing. So I figured out where the stem is, and now I'm just going around and positioning that the way our dies are made. If you see the black lines should be right on the inside of the die. It's going to automatically put a little white border around it. I guess border is a good word. And I've used my secret washi tape. And now I'm ready to just roll that through. Sorry, I have to put my hand up under you to hold this so it doesn't shake the whole table. And it provides better traction if you just leave it up to chance. Sometimes it slips and you just about bop yourself in the head with it. Because when it gets tension on it, if you don't have a hold of the handle, you can end up with whiplash type thing. Look at how pretty that turned out. I'm really happy with that. It lined up nicely. I've got kind of the same amount of white all the way around it. It just takes, you know, a little bit of time. All right, so let's get our card. We have our pieces. We have our cherry cobbler piece. And I'm going to adhere that to the front of the card. So I used linen thread is what we're going to use to embellish this with, because that kind of reminds me, it's sort of a rusticy, fallish kind of ribbon. It's not sparkly or shiny. Apples just remind me of fall. I think they're picked in the fall. I didn't do any research to look that up. Got that done. This is mounted on dimensionals. Debated back and forth, but the dimensionals just give it a little lift up off the surface, and I'm going to use my edge pieces. I have gone through these. I've been crafting like crazy to have projects ready for when I get back, because while I'm gone, I'm announcing a class on October the 12th. You'll get emails. If you are not signed up for my email list, you need to do that. And you can do that by emailing me. And all that information is in the profile here of my YouTube channel, of how to get a hold of me, or even comment, because I'll check the comments. I might not do it while we're on our trip, but I will definitely check the comments. I usually reply, but you want to be on my email list. That's where the magic is. When I've got card classes to go, when I'm having in-live events. I'm adding that extra class in October using the Winter Meadow collection of products. Look how pretty that is. This just gets adhered straight to the card front. You can use, excuse me, the Stampin' Seal, because it's just the right width. And I'm just kind of centering that. We have embellished it with classic matte dots. You could use any of our metals, the different rustic dots. Rustic, I forget exactly what they're called. Let's do gray. That's what's left on here. Okay. We'll put, how about if we put one there? I think I might put a few more on this one. Put one on our on our sentiment here. And how about if we do one here? Look at that. So that's the outside of our card. Let's talk about the inside. Did this one have a liner? Sometimes I steal the liners out, and then I have to go looking for them. It maybe never had one. I always mark one kit as mine because there's something about it that would make it difficult. I might have left a part out, had to pick a different paper. All right, let's do that. Let's stamp a flower. How do we want that? Do it that way. Do one there. And this is going to stamp off. Didn't work out quite like I was thinking it would. We're going to stamp. Yeah, that'll still work though for the inside. And if you want to do your envelope, where did I put? Here's the envelope. And let's see. We'll do it that way and that way. So it gives them a hint of what's inside the envelope. Put this one in here. The greatest gift is a good friend. That's what the sentiment says. So I did not look for a verse for the inside of it because I thought, well, you might want to use it for a birthday card. You might want to use it for a thinking of you card, thank you card. So I just left it. And let's do our bow. So the secret here is to a nice big fat fluffy bow is double up, especially on this linen thread. Double up your thread pieces here because it makes it bulkier and gives it some oomph, oomph. That. And then just put it how you want to. I think one of these is misbehaving just a little bit, not that one. That would be you. I'm going to use a glue dot that has stuck itself to the outside of the box. And the last box I had didn't want to stick. I don't know if they got hot being mailed. And then decide how long you want your tails to be. I don't want mine real long. Trim this one off. Look at that. All right. That is the Apple Harvest card using the Apple Harvest cling set and the dies. So that's what I have for you today. I appreciate your time. Hope you have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Bye.